Liam Cross was internet royalty at 27 years old. With 20.3 million followers, across platforms, brand deals worth 7 figures annually, and a penthouse apartment overlooking the city, he represented everything the digital age promised. Instant fame, limitless wealth, and zero accountability. His content was simple. Shock, offend, and profit. He built his empire on mockery, targeting anything traditional, sacred, or beloved by normies, as he called regular people. Religion was his favourite target. Faith is just a security blanket for people too weak to face reality, he'd say into the camera, his signature smirk firmly in place. Praying is talking to yourself and pretending someone's listening. It's pathetic. His audience loved it. Comments flooded in. Liam speaking facts. Religion is a scam. Finally someone brave enough to say it. But Liam wasn't done. Every few months he needed to escalate to maintain relevance. Shock value had diminishing returns in the attention economy. He needed something bigger. On a crisp October morning, Liam and his production crew pulled up to St. Catherine's Church, a historic cathedral that had stood in the city for over 200 years. Outside its entrance stood a beautiful marble statue of the Virgin Mary, her hands clasped in prayer, her face serene and compassionate. "Perfect," Liam said, grinning at his cameraman. "This is going to break the internet." He started the live stream at 10:47 a.m. Within minutes, 40,000 viewers were watching. "What's up, Cross Nation?" Liam shouted into his phone. "Check out where I am, St. Catherine's Church. You know what they worship here? This lady right here." He gestured mockingly at the Virgin Mary statue. "Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from. They think she can hear prayers. They think she performs miracles. They literally believe a statue can help them." He laughed. "Let me show you how much power this thing actually has." From his backpack, Liam pulled out ridiculous props. Oversized sunglasses, a pink wig, a cigarette. He dressed the statue up like a joke, placing the sunglasses on her face, the wig on her head. The comment section exploded with laughing emojis and fire reactions. "Look at this," Liam shouted. "She's not stopping me. Where's the lightning bolt? Where's the divine intervention?" He took a selfie with the desecrated statue. Comment, "God isn't real," if you're not afraid of fairy tales. The comments flooded in, thousands typing "God isn't real," thousands more cheering him on. An elderly woman walking past stopped, her face pale with horror. "How dare you? That's sacred." Liam turned the camera on her. "Sacred? It's a rock carved to look like a person. It has exactly zero power." The woman made the sign of the cross, tears in her eyes. "You will regret this. You mock the Mother of God herself." "The Mother of God?" Liam laughed cruelly. "Lady, I'm standing right here, doing whatever I want to this statue, and nothing's happening. Your magic sky woman isn't coming to stop me." The old woman walked away, shaking her head and praying under her breath. Liam wrapped up the stream 30 minutes later, having thoroughly humiliated the statue and everything it represented. The video ended with him giving a mock bow to the Virgin Mary. "Thanks for not smiting me, Mary. Oh wait, you can't, because you're stone." The live stream was viewed 4.2 million times in the first 3 hours. By evening, it had been clipped, shared, and reposted across every platform. Entertainment news sites ran stories. Influencers' controversial church stunt goes viral. Faith-based organizations condemned it. Religious leaders called it blasphemy of the highest order. The Archbishop of the local diocese issued a statement. "This young man's actions are not just disrespectful, they are spiritually dangerous. He mocks what he does not understand, and ridicule aimed at the sacred has consequences." Liam read the statement on his Instagram story and laughed. "Consequences? Like what? Is Mary going to send me a cease and desist?" He made a mocking, scared face. "Oh no, I'm so frightened of imaginary consequences from imaginary people." His followers ate it up. His engagement rates hit all-time highs. 3 new sponsors reached out. His agent called with offers for a podcast deal and a potential Netflix documentary. Liam Cross was on top of the world for exactly 72 more hours. It started during a live stream on a Wednesday evening, 3 days after the church incident. Liam was in his apartment, doing a Q&A session with 50,000 live viewers. He was mid-sentence, answering a question about his next controversial target, when his words suddenly slurred. So next week, I'm thinking we go... His face went pale. The phone slipped from his hand, clattering to the floor. The camera kept rolling, showing the ceiling, while Liam's voice came through, confused and frightened. I can't... My hand... Then a crash. The live stream cut off. Emergency services arrived 14 minutes later. Liam was conscious but disoriented, unable to move his right arm properly, his speech garbled and slow. At the hospital, Dr. Sarah Patel ran every test available. The results came back within hours and her face went grim. Mr. Cross, she said carefully, you have an extremely rare neurological condition called acute inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy. It's a variant of Guillain-Barré syndrome, but far more aggressive than typical cases. Liam's manager, Derek, who had rushed to the hospital, leaned forward. What does that mean? It means his immune system is attacking his nervous system. The protective coating around his nerves is being destroyed. If we can't stop the progression, he could lose motor function entirely. Speech, movement, even breathing. Can you treat it? Derek asked. Dr. Patel hesitated. We can try. But this variant, it appeared suddenly, which is unusual, and it's progressing faster than I've ever seen. Normally this condition develops over weeks. His symptoms escalated in hours. Liam tried to speak, but could barely form words. Terror filled his eyes. We're starting aggressive treatment immediately, Dr. Patel continued. Immunotherapy, plasma exchange, corticosteroids, but I need you to understand, this is serious, life-threatening, serious. Over the next 48 hours, Liam's condition deteriorated rapidly. The treatments weren't working. His left hand lost function completely. His legs weakened until he couldn't stand. His speech became nearly unintelligible. Doctors were baffled. Every intervention failed. The disease progressed as if nothing they did mattered. News of Liam's hospitalization leaked online. His social media accounts went silent. The first time in 5 years he hadn't posted daily. Speculation ran wild. His followers worried, but in faith communities a different conversation was happening. He mocked the Virgin Mary on Monday. He collapsed on Thursday. 3 days. That's all it took. This isn't coincidence. This is consequence. A priest in Boston wrote a viral thread. I do not wish illness on anyone, but I must note the timeline. This young man publicly desecrated a statue of the Mother of God, mocked those who pray to her, and encouraged millions to blaspheme. 3 days later, he cannot speak or move. Draw your own conclusions. The thread was shared hundreds of thousands of times. Liam's manager Derek saw it and felt a chill run down his spine. He wasn't religious, hadn't been to church since childhood, but the timing was undeniable. On the 5th day, Liam's condition worsened critically. His breathing became laboured. Doctors discussed putting him on a ventilator. Dr. Patel called Derek aside. We're running out of options. His nervous system is shutting down faster than we can intervene. If this continues, he'll be on life support by tomorrow, and after that... She didn't finish the sentence. What are his chances? Derek asked, his voice barely a whisper. If something doesn't change? Less than 30% he survives the week. Derek went back to Liam's room. His friend, the cocky, invincible influencer who had seemed untouchable, looked like a shadow. Tubes and wires connected him to machines. His face was gaunt, his eyes sunken. Liam's eyes met Derek's, filled with terror and a question he couldn't voice. Derek pulled up a chair. Listen, man, I know you don't believe, but there's something weird about the timing here. The church thing was Monday. You got sick Thursday. It's been 5 days, and you're getting worse, not better. Liam made a garbled sound, trying to form words. I'm just saying, Derek continued. Maybe you should consider apologizing. Not publicly, just in case. Liam's eyes flashed with anger. Even now, even dying, his pride remained. But deep down, in a place he'd never acknowledged before, fear was growing into something else. Terror. That night, Liam's fever spiked to 104 degrees. His body fought the infection raging through his nervous system. Nurses applied cooling blankets. Medications were adjusted. Nothing brought the fever down. As his temperature climbed, Liam slipped into a delirious half-sleep, caught between consciousness and dreams. And that's when he saw her. He was standing in St. Catherine's Square, but it was night-time and utterly silent. No cars, no people. Just him and the statue. Except the statue wasn't stone anymore. The Virgin Mary was glowing with soft white gold light that seemed to emanate from within her. Her marble had become translucent, almost alive, and she was looking directly at him. Liam tried to run but couldn't move. The figure's lips didn't move, but a voice filled his mind, gentle, sorrowful, and impossible to ignore. The mouth that mocked will one day pray. "No," Liam tried to say. "You're not real. This is just fever, just my brain." "You called me stone," the voice continued. "You called me powerless. You said I could not hear. You invited millions to blaspheme." The light intensified, and Liam had to shield his eyes. "Yet here I am, and here you are." "I don't believe in you," Liam shouted. "Belief is not required for truth to exist," the voice said, "but prayer will be required for mercy." The figure stepped down from her pedestal, moving toward him. Liam's heart hammered in his chest. "You have 3 days," she said. 3 days for what? "To choose. Pride or prayer, death or life." "This isn't real. You're not real." The figure reached out and touched his forehead. Her hand was warm, impossibly warm, and where she touched him, pain erupted, the same pain ravaging his nervous system, but concentrated, overwhelming. Liam screamed. "The body is a the voice said. "You desecrated mine. Now yours desecrates itself. Cause and consequence, action and reaction, sin and judgment." "Please," Liam gasped. "Please stop." "I have not started. Your own choices have done this. I merely allow what was invited. I didn't invite this. You invited mockery. Mockery invites consequence. You invited blasphemy. Blasphemy invites silence from heaven, and when heaven is silent, other forces are free to act." The pain intensified until Liam thought he would pass out. 3 days, the voice repeated. "The mouth that mocked will pray, or the mouth that mocked will close forever." Liam woke up screaming, thrashing against his restraints, setting off every monitor in the room. Nurses rushed in. Dr. Patel was paged. They sedated him, but his vitals were in chaos, blood pressure spiking, heart rate erratic. "What happened?" Dr. Patel demanded. A nurse shook her head. He just started screaming, like he was in agony. When Liam finally calmed, the sedatives pulling him under, he whispered something that the night nurse barely caught. 3 days. She said 3 days. The nurse noted it in his chart but didn't understand what it meant. Dr. Patel reviewed Liam's scans the next morning, and what she found made no medical sense. "The deterioration accelerated overnight," she told her team. "At this rate, he has maybe 72 hours before complete respiratory failure. We need to intubate now." 72 hours, 3 days. The same timeline from the statue incident to his collapse. Derek sat by Liam's bed holding his friend's hand. Liam's eyes were open but unfocused, staring at the ceiling. "Do you remember what you said last night?" Derek asked. "What you said 3 days?" Liam's eyes slowly focused on him. "What did you mean?" Liam's mouth worked, struggling to form words. Finally, in a voice like breaking glass, "She told me 3 days to pray or die." Derek felt ice in his veins. "Who told you?" "Mary." The name came out as barely a whisper. "The statue. In a dream. She said, 'The mouth that mocked will pray.'" "Liam, that was just—" "No." Liam's hand gripped Derek's with surprising strength. "Real. It was real. I felt her touch me. I felt everything." Derek looked at his friend, this man who had built an empire on skepticism and mockery, and saw genuine terror in his eyes. "What are you going to do?" Derek asked. Liam's eyes welled with tears. "I don't know how to pray." At that moment, an older nurse named Margaret entered to check his vitals. She saw the tears on Liam's face and paused. "Is he in pain?" she asked Derek. "I think so, but not the kind you can medicate." Margaret looked at Liam for a long moment. Then, from her pocket, she pulled out a simple rosary, wooden beads on a worn string. "I'm not supposed to do this," she said quietly. "Hospital policy about respecting all beliefs or no beliefs, but—" She placed the rosary on Liam's bedside table. "Sometimes, when we have nothing left, prayer is all there is." She left without another word. Liam stared at the rosary. His right hand was useless, but his left could still move slightly. He tried to reach for it, but couldn't extend his arm far enough. Derek picked it up. "You want this?" Liam nodded, fresh tears streaming down his face. Derek placed the beads in Liam's weak hand, closing his fingers around them. For a long time, Liam just held them, feeling their weight, their texture. He had mocked people for carrying these. He had called them superstitious crutches. Now, holding them felt like holding a lifeline. "I don't know the words," Liam whispered. "Then just talk," Derek said. "If there's anyone listening, they'll hear you." That afternoon, alone in his hospital room, Liam Cross closed his eyes and did something he hadn't done since he was a child, forced to attend Sunday school. He prayed. "I don't know if anyone can hear me," he whispered, his voice shaking. "I don't know if you're real, but if you are, if she's real, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I said, for what I did, for encouraging others to mock you." His hand tightened on the rosary. "I was wrong. I was arrogant and cruel and wrong, and I'm scared. I'm so scared. Please, if you can hear me, please help me. Please don't let me die like this." The machines beeped steadily. The afternoon sun streamed through the window. Nothing dramatic happened. Liam felt foolish. He was talking to empty air, holding beads carved from wood, hoping an invisible being would care about him, but he didn't stop. "The mouth that mocked will pray," he whispered, repeating the words from his dream. "Okay, I'm praying. I'm praying right now. Please. Please let this mean something." Exhausted, he fell asleep with the rosary still clutched in his hand. And that night, for the first time in 6 days, his fever broke. Dr. Patel arrived for morning rounds expecting the worst. Liam's trajectory had been clear. Complete respiratory failure within 48 hours, life support, and then difficult decisions about how long to keep him alive. She pulled up his overnight vitals on her tablet, preparing to recommend intubation, and froze. "That can't be right," she muttered, checking the data again. Liam's fever had dropped from 104 to 99.2. His blood pressure had stabilized. His oxygen saturation had improved. His inflammatory markers, which had been catastrophically high, had decreased by 30% overnight. She rushed to his room. Liam was awake, his eyes clearer than they'd been in a week. When he saw her, he tried to smile. "How do you feel?" Dr. Patel asked, already examining him. "Better," Liam said, his speech still slurred but noticeably improved. "Still weak, but better." "Can you move your right hand?" Liam concentrated. His fingers twitched, not much, but they moved, something that had been impossible yesterday. Dr. Patel ran every test. The results were consistent. Improvement. Not recovery. He was still critically ill, but improvement where there should have been decline. "I don't understand," she admitted. "Your condition doesn't improve like this. Not this fast. Not without reason." "Maybe there is a reason," Liam said quietly. "Medical reasons, I mean." Liam looked at the rosary still resting on his chest. "Maybe there are other kinds of reasons too." Over the next 5 days, Liam's improvement continued. Physical therapists helped him sit up. Speech therapists worked on his articulation. His right hand regained partial function. The medical team was stunned. Dr. Patel presented his case at a conference, emphasizing that recovery from his variant of the condition was virtually unheard of, let alone at this speed. "What changed?" a colleague asked. Dr. Patel shook her head. Nothing in his treatment protocol. The same interventions that weren't working suddenly worked. "I have no explanation." But Liam had an explanation. He prayed every day now, clutching the rosary Nurse Margaret had given him, whispering words that still felt foreign but increasingly necessary. And he made a decision. On his 10th day in the hospital, able to sit up and speak clearly for the first time, Liam called Derek. "I need you to take me somewhere," he said. "Where?" "You're still in the hospital." "I know, but I'm getting discharge approval tomorrow, and there's something I need to do." "What?" Liam met his friend's eyes. "I need to go back to St. Catherine's. I need to apologise properly. Not just to God, to her, to the people I hurt, to everyone." Derek stared at him. "You want to go back to the church?" "I have to. I don't expect you to understand, but I was given 3 days to pray or die. I prayed. I lived. Now I need to make it right." "Liam, if you go there, if someone recognises you after what you did, then they recognise me. But I'm going. With or without you." Derek saw the determination in his friend's eyes, a different kind of determination than the reckless arrogance that had defined him before. This was resolve born from humility. "Okay," Derek finally said. "I'll drive you." 3 days later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Derek's car pulled up outside St. Catherine's Church. Liam sat in the passenger seat, thinner and weaker but able to walk with a cane. The statue stood where it always had, once again pristine after church volunteers had cleaned off Liam's desecrations. She looked exactly as she had for decades, hands clasped, face serene, eternal. Liam stared at her through the window, his heart pounding. "You ready?" Derek asked. "No, but I'm going anyway." With Derek's help, Liam got out of the car. He limped slowly toward the statue, each step requiring effort. His body was still healing, still weak from the ordeal that had nearly killed him. A few people were entering the church for morning mass. One woman saw Liam and gasped, recognizing him. She pulled out her phone. Liam ignored her. He focused only on reaching the statue. When he finally stood before it, he looked up at the carved face. The face he had mocked. The face he had seen glowing in his fever dream, delivering a message that had saved his life. "I'm sorry," he said aloud, his voice cracking. "I'm so sorry." And then Liam Cross, influencer, skeptic, mocker of the sacred, knelt down on the stone steps in front of the Virgin Mary statue. Pain shot through his legs, his body still too weak for this, but he stayed down, bowing his head. "I didn't understand," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I thought I was brave for mocking you. I thought I was smart for not believing, but I was just arrogant. I hurt people. I encouraged millions to disrespect what they hold sacred. I desecrated your image and laughed about it." His voice broke completely. "And then I was dying, and I had nothing left. No jokes, no followers, no confidence, just fear and pain. And when I finally prayed, when I finally asked for help, you answered. Or God answered, or something beyond my understanding answered, and I lived." He looked up at the statue, his face wet with tears. "Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for mercy I didn't deserve." He stayed kneeling, praying silently, unaware that a crowd had gathered. Over 20 people now stood nearby, watching. Several were filming on their phones, but something else was happening too. Multiple witnesses later testified that as Liam knelt there weeping and praying, a soft golden light appeared around the statue. Not bright, barely visible in the morning sun, but there, gentle and warm, like a halo that appeared for just a few seconds and then faded. A woman filming on her phone captured it. The video, shaky and brief, clearly showed a luminous glow surrounding the Virgin Mary as Liam prayed beneath her. The footage would go viral within hours, viewed millions of times, analysed by skeptics and believers alike. But in that moment, Liam saw nothing except the statue's face, felt nothing except overwhelming gratitude, and knew only one thing with absolute certainty. He had been saved. Saved from death, and saved from himself. When he finally stood, with Derek's help, his legs trembling, he turned to face the gathered crowd. "My name is Liam Cross," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. 2 weeks ago I stood here and desecrated this statue. I mocked what you believe. I encouraged millions to blaspheme, and 3 days later I collapsed with an illness that should have killed me." He paused, steadying himself on his cane. "But I didn't die, because when I had nothing left, I prayed. And I believe, I know, I was given mercy I didn't deserve. So I'm here to apologize, to all of you, to her." He gestured to the statue. "To God, to anyone I hurt or led astray with my arrogance." An elderly man in the crowd, tears in his eyes, said, "God forgives you, son." "I hope so," Liam said quietly. "I really hope so." The priest from St. Catherine's, Father Michael, had been alerted to the commotion and arrived just then. He looked at Liam, this young man who had caused such pain to his parish, and saw genuine contrition. "Would you like to come inside?" Father Michael asked. "To pray properly?" Liam nodded, not trusting his voice. As he limped toward the church entrance, supported by Derek, the crowd parted. Some looked angry, some looked moved, but most looked at him with something he'd never received before in his life: compassion for a fallen soul trying to rise again. Inside the church, Liam sat in a pew and prayed for an hour. When he emerged, he found Father Michael waiting. "What will you do now?" the priest asked. Liam looked back at the altar, at the stained glass depicting saints and miracles, at the world he'd spent years mocking. "I'm going to tell the truth," he said. "All of it. What I did. What happened to me. What I learned. And maybe someone will hear it and not make the same mistakes I did. That takes courage, Father Michael said. No, Liam replied. Courage is what you all have. Believing when people like me call you fools. What I'm doing is just finally being honest. Liam returned home that afternoon and opened his laptop for the first time in 2 weeks. His social media accounts had been managed by his team during his absence, posting generic, "Liam is taking time to recover" messages. His DMs were flooded, millions of comments, some wishing him well, many demanding to know what had happened, some chillingly celebrating his illness as karma and divine retribution. He spent hours reading them, seeing the impact his content had made, the mockery he'd spread, the doubt he'd encouraged, the pain he'd caused to believers who had done nothing to him. That evening, he posted a video, sitting in his apartment, still visibly weak, using a cane visible in the frame. Liam looked into the camera with none of his former bravado. "Hi everyone, it's Liam. I know I've been gone for 2 weeks, and you've heard rumours. Time to tell you what really happened." He took a deep breath. 2 weeks ago, I made a video mocking a Virgin Mary statue outside St. Catherine's Church. I desecrated it, laughed at it, and encouraged you all to deny God's existence. It was cruel, it was disrespectful, and I thought it was hilarious. 3 days later, I collapsed during a live stream. I developed a rare aggressive illness that attacked my nervous system. Doctors told my manager I had less than a 30% chance of surviving the week. He held up the rosary, still around his neck. I was dying. My body was shutting down, and for the first time in my adult life, I was truly terrified. I realized that all my confidence, all my followers, all my money, none of it mattered. I was alone with my mortality, and I had no comfort because I'd spent years mocking the idea of comfort. His voice cracked. I had a fever dream where I saw the Virgin Mary. She told me, "The mouth that mocked will pray." She gave me 3 days to choose. Pride or prayer, death or life. And I chose prayer. Barely. Desperately. A nurse left a rosary by my bed and I grabbed it like a drowning man grabs driftwood. I prayed even though I didn't believe it would work. I prayed because I had absolutely nothing else left. Tears ran down his face, and I got better. Against all medical odds, against the progression of my disease, I stabilised. I improved. I recovered. My doctors have no explanation. They call it a statistical anomaly. But I know what it was. It was mercy. Grace. A second chance I absolutely did not deserve. He leaned closer to the camera. I'm not here to preach to you. I'm not suddenly a religious fanatic. I'm just someone who learned the hardest possible way that mockery has consequences, that arrogance is dangerous, that some things are sacred whether we believe in them or not, and that when we tear down what others hold dear, we tear down something in ourselves too. I went back to St. Catherine's today. I knelt before the statue I desecrated. I apologised. Not for the cameras, I didn't even know people were filming, but because I needed to, because it was right. To everyone who believes, who I hurt with my content, I'm profoundly sorry. You didn't deserve my mockery. Your faith is valid, important, and beautiful. I was wrong to attack it. To everyone who followed me for my sceptical content, I'm not asking you to believe what I believe now. I'm just asking you to be better than I was. Don't mock what you don't understand. Don't tear down what others need. Have enough humility to recognise that you might be wrong. He held up the rosary again. This saved my life, not the beads, what they represent. Prayer, humility, surrender, mercy. I'm keeping it, and I'm changing. My content is changing. If you want to unfollow, I understand, but I can't go back to who I was. That person nearly died, and maybe he needed to, so someone better could take his place. The video ended. Liam posted it across all his platforms simultaneously. Then he closed his laptop and waited. Within an hour, the video had 1 million views. Within 6 hours, 10 million. By morning, it had been viewed over 30 million times and was trending #1 globally. The response was split dramatically. Half his followers praised his honesty. Comments flooded in. This is real courage. Watching someone's genuine transformation is beautiful. I'm not religious, but this is powerful. Welcome back to humanity, Liam. The other half accused him of faking everything for attention. This is a publicity stunt. He's not sorry. He's scared of losing sponsors. Probably never was even sick. Playing the Jesus card for views is a new low. But then something unexpected happened. Other people began sharing their own stories. A woman posted a video. Liam isn't lying. I had an aggressive illness 3 years ago. Doctors gave up. My family prayed. I recovered in ways medicine couldn't explain. Faith saved me too. A former atheist shared, I spent 20 years mocking believers. Then my daughter got cancer. When I had nothing left, I prayed. She went into remission, changed my entire worldview. Hundreds, then thousands of similar testimonies emerged. People who had experienced something beyond medical explanation, people who had found faith in their darkest moments, people who had been arrogant and were humbled. Liam's comment section became a repository of miraculous stories. The mainstream media couldn't ignore it. CNN ran a segment titled, Influencer's Near-Death Experience Sparks Faith Debate. The BBC interviewed theologians and medical doctors about his case. Dr. Patel, his physician, was interviewed on a medical podcast. I can confirm that Liam's recovery was highly unusual. Do I think it was a miracle? I can't say as a scientist, but I can say I've never seen anything quite like it. The Vatican's press office issued a statement. While we cannot officially declare this a miracle without extensive investigation, we are encouraged to see a young person discovering faith through suffering and expressing genuine contrition. But not everyone was forgiving. Atheist organizations accused Liam of betraying skepticism. His former content had been featured by prominent atheist YouTubers who now felt betrayed. One recorded a scathing video. Liam Cross was supposed to be one of us. Now he's pushing rosaries and talking about Virgin Mary fever dreams. He's either had a psychological break or he's a con artist. Liam saw the video and felt no anger, only sadness. He recorded a response. I understand why you're upset. I built a platform on skepticism and now I'm saying I was wrong. That feels like betrayal, but I'm not betraying truth. I'm finally admitting I didn't have all of it. Maybe you're right, and this was all coincidence and delusion. But maybe, just maybe, there's more to reality than what we can measure. I'm not asking you to believe. I'm just sharing what happened to me. His old sponsors dropped him, as expected. Brands didn't want to be associated with religious content. But new opportunities emerged. A Christian publishing house offered him a book deal. Catholic media outlets wanted interviews. Churches invited him to speak. Liam accepted some and declined others. He wasn't interested in becoming a professional Catholic celebrity. He just wanted to live differently, create differently, and help repair some of the damage he'd caused. He started a new content series called Second Chance Stories, where he interviewed people who had experienced profound transformations, religious or otherwise, former addicts, prisoners who found redemption, people who survived tragedies and found meaning. His follower count dropped from 20 million to 12 million. He didn't care. The 12 million who stayed were different, more engaged, more thoughtful, less interested in shock value, and more interested in substance. Liam donated 70% of his remaining income to charity. He funded repairs to churches that had been vandalized by online hate groups he'd once inadvertently inspired. He paid medical bills for people who couldn't afford treatment, and every week, without fail, he returned to St. Catherine's Church. He attended Mass. He prayed before the statue. He volunteered in the parish, serving food at the soup kitchen, talking with parishioners, learning what faith looked like when lived rather than mocked. Father Michael became a mentor. They met regularly for coffee, discussing theology, doubt, grace, and transformation. Do you still have questions? Father Michael asked one afternoon. Constantly, Liam admitted. I don't understand most of this. Prayer still feels strange. I struggle with doctrines. Sometimes I wonder if I'm crazy. That's called faith, Father Michael said with a gentle smile. It's not certainty. It's trust, despite uncertainty. You're doing fine. I almost died because of my arrogance. And now you live because of your humility. That's how grace works. It meets us in our worst moments and offers us something better. Liam took a sip of coffee. The thing that haunts me most is how many people I influenced. Millions watched my content. How many of them mocked faith because I did? How many hurt believers because I made it seem cool? How do I fix that? You can't fix all of it, Father Michael said honestly. But you can be a living example of transformation. Every person who sees your change and reconsiders their own mockery, that's repair. Every time you choose humility over arrogance, that's repair. You're doing it right now. 6 months after his illness, Liam was invited to speak at a youth conference organised by several Christian denominations. He almost declined, feeling unqualified, but something pushed him to accept. Standing before 3,000 teenagers, many of whom had followed his old content, Liam shared his full story. Not the sanitized version, but the raw truth. His arrogance, his cruelty, his near death, his terror, his prayer, his recovery. I thought mocking religion made me smart, he told them. It made me cruel. I thought disrespecting faith made me brave. It made me a coward who only punched down at people who believed in something bigger than themselves. When you're lying in a hospital bed, unable to move or speak, realizing you might die at 27, all your followers don't matter. Your money doesn't matter. Your reputation doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is whether your life meant something beyond entertainment and commerce. Mine didn't. Not until I learned to pray. A girl in the front row raised her hand. "Do you think God made you sick to punish you?" Liam paused, considering carefully. "I don't think God punishes like that. But I think there are consequences to our choices. I mocked something sacred. I encouraged millions to blaspheme. And 3 days later, I got sick with an illness that appeared suddenly and progressed impossibly fast. Was it divine punishment? Divine intervention? Just terrible coincidence? I don't know for certain, but I know this. I was given a choice. Die with my pride intact, or live with humility. I chose to live, and that required prayer. That required surrender. That required admitting I was wrong. So whether God struck me down, or simply allowed consequences to unfold, the result is the same. I was brought to my knees literally and spiritually, and from my knees I could finally see clearly. The applause was thunderous. After the talk, dozens of young people approached him. Many had been skeptics influenced by his old content. Many were now questioning their own mockery. One boy, maybe 16, said with tears in his eyes, "I shared your church video everywhere. I thought it was hilarious, but my grandmother cried when she saw it. She said you were hurting people like her. I didn't care. I just wanted to be edgy like you. Now, I see what I did, and I'm sorry. To her, to everyone." Liam put his hand on the boy's shoulder. "Then tell her. Apologize to your grandmother. That's how this works. We caused pain. We acknowledge it. We seek forgiveness. We change. You're already ahead of where I was at your age." Stories like this multiplied. Liam's transformation was inspiring others to reconsider their own relationship with faith, with mockery, with the sacred. A year after his illness, a major documentary crew approached Liam about filming his story. He agreed, on the condition that they interview everyone: his doctors, the nurse who gave him the rosary, Father Michael, people from St. Catherine's Parish, even his critics. The resulting documentary, titled "The Mouth That Mocked: One Man's Journey from Blasphemy to Belief," was released to streaming platforms and became a cultural phenomenon. It presented the facts without editorial spin, the timeline of events, the medical records, the witness testimonies about the golden light, the video evidence, the statistical improbability of his recovery. Skeptics remained skeptical, believers saw confirmation, but millions in between, the uncertain, the curious, the open-minded, were moved by the honesty of Liam's transformation. The documentary ended with Liam kneeling before the Virgin Mary statue at St. Catherine's, the same position he'd taken a year earlier. "I come here every week," he said to the camera. "Not because I have to, because I need to. This statue reminds me of who I was and who I'm trying to become. It reminds me that mercy is real, that transformation is possible, that heaven pays attention, even to fools like me." He looked up at the carved face. "She didn't destroy me when she could have. She gave me a chance to choose differently. That's the miracle. Not the recovery, though that was miraculous too. The real miracle is being given the opportunity to become better than you were." 3 years after the incident, Liam's life was unrecognisable. He still had nearly 8 million followers, but his content had changed completely. Instead of mocking faith, he now hosted Second Chance, a top-rated podcast about meaning, transformation, and spirituality. He welcomed guests from all beliefs and often spoke about his own journey. Gone was the penthouse and lavish lifestyle. Liam lived simply near St. Catherine's Church, donating most of his earnings to causes like medical debt relief, church restoration, and addiction recovery. He founded The Mouth That Prays, a charity supporting people in medical crises, explaining, "I almost died because wealth let me be inhuman. Now I want to help others in their worst moments." Privately, Liam entered RCIA, and after a year of study and prayer, was baptised and confirmed as a Catholic at St. Catherine's Easter Vigil. Father Michael, who had guided him, performed the sacrament, and Liam chose Michael as his confirmation name. Parishioners wept as they watched him kneel before the Virgin Mary statue he once mocked. Nurse Margaret, who had given him a rosary in the hospital, attended too. "You gave a dying man hope," Liam told her. "That's what she does," Margaret replied, nodding toward the statue. Every year on the anniversary of his collapse, Liam attended a packed mass of thanksgiving. Witnesses consistently reported a soft golden glow surrounding the statue as he prayed, a phenomenon captured in multiple videos with no scientific explanation. The Archdiocese launched an investigation, but for those present, no proof was needed. They believed heaven was still paying attention. On the 5th anniversary, Liam released his best-selling memoir, The Mouth That Mocked, detailing his arrogance, illness, desperate prayer, and conversion. The final chapter reflected on his transformation. Mockery is easy but costly. Forces greater than us exist whether we believe or not. Mercy isn't weakness. It transforms monsters into men. A statue isn't just stone when it represents something eternal, and it's never too late to change. The Virgin Mary could have let me die. She gave grace instead. Letters from readers poured in. Stories of their own conversions and answered prayers. Liam responded to many personally, humbled by how his story echoed in others' lives. 7 years after his illness, Liam sat quietly in St. Catherine's after Mass, reflecting with Father Michael. "Do you still doubt?" the priest asked. "Sometimes," Liam admitted, "but now it's humble doubt, knowing how little I understand." Asked if he regretted his suffering, Liam shook his head. "Some people needed to be broken before they can be rebuilt. I was one of them." As they left, Liam paused to touch the base of the Virgin Mary statue. Witnesses later swore they saw a faint golden glow. It lasted only a moment, just enough to remind them that miracles don't end with a crisis. They continue quietly in every transformed life.